And the goatee.
Yes.
You didn't think that was hot at all?
No,
on any
no,
level?
I would not be yanking on that. No, thanks.
From Rosemary's Baby and Reagan McNeil, to Jason, Freddy, and Chucky, to Samara, Jigsaw, and Pennywise, we can't get enough. If it's blood-curdling, spine-tingling, breath-quickening, or soul-stealing, we are ready to watch it. Welcome to Hilltop Horror Movie Reviews. I'm your host, Ray Richards. With me tonight are my two co-hosts, Anne Conley.
Hey.
And Helen Stewart.
Hello.
Alright, tonight we're reviewing Bram Stoker's Dracula, a 1992 American Gothic horror film directed and produced by Francis Ford Coppola, based on the novel Dracula by Bram Stoker. It stars Gary Oldman as Count Dracula, Winona Ryder as Mina Harker, Anthony Hopkins as Professor Abraham Van Helsing, and Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker. Dracula grossed $215 million on a $40 million budget. Rotten Tomatoes consensus cited, quote, some terrific performances, quote, but Reeves' work has been widely criticized. It was nominated for 4 Academy Awards and won 3 for Best Costume Design, Best Sound Editing, and Best Makeup. So when we start off, we usually go through what our expectations were when we got into watching the movie. So, Anne.
So I remember watching this probably circa undergrad years, maybe on one of those sort of lame dates where we kind of stayed in type of thing. But the funny thing about this movie that I remember first, being all set to watch this is that you're thinking that it's a really old film. I don't know if that was just due to the trailers or due to the name, or I don't know where I got this impression, but I originally thought this film was, 70s, maybe even 60s, like maybe it was like a throwback. So I remember laughing the first time I saw this, and like Winona Ryder pops up in the middle of it. I'm like, what is Winona Ryder doing in this film? And I didn't know Gary Oldman that well back in the day. And of course now, we know him so much through, Batman series, Harry Potter series, amongst other things. So it's cool to see him as younger. But it's funny, to kind of see this film, of course, shot really kind of, as a throwback as well, but same thing. That was really my first impression. I was just so shocked that this was actually more of a modern film that was, again, shot like it was an old film, like I thought it was, if that makes sense.
Okay. Helen?
I had never seen this film before, so I was anticipating just your regular old Dracula.
Did you get regular old Dracula?
I think I've seen better regular old Draculas.
Oh, ouch.
Okay. I don't remember the first time I saw this movie. I know I saw it sometime probably in the 90s, but I do remember when I rediscovered this movie, and it was in probably 2009, 2010, and it was Halloween, and I was getting dressed up to sit on my front porch for kids to come up and get candy. I remember watching it again and liking it a lot, and so coming into this review, I expected to watch it and like it, and I kind of did. Not to spoil my thought, but that's where I'm at. All right, so Anne, do you want to play the trailer?
Absolutely, it's trailer time and action.
Here occurred the frightening and shocking history of Prince Dracula and the woman he loved.
I have crossed oceans of time to find you.
Ja, Dracula.
There's a sinister, darker side to him I find irresistible. I have never met any man with such a passion for life. He is unlike any man. What are you?
Vampires do exist. This one we fight, this one we face. Can take on many forms. He is both young and old. He can appear as mist, as vapor, as the fog. And he can vanish at will.
My love.
The power of his evil desire has no end.
You've got to go to him. You've got to love him.
She is a willing recruit and devoted disciple. She is the devil's concubine. Turtle!
Join me in eternal life.
Your salvation is his destruction.
I want to be what you are. I want to see what you see. I want to love what you love. Take me away from all this death.
In 1462, Vlad Dracula, a member of the Order of the Dragon, returns from a victory against the Turks to find his wife, Elisabeta, having committed suicide after receiving a false report of his death. The priest proceeds to tell him that his wife's soul is condemned for committing suicide. Enraged, Dracula desecrates the chapel and renounces his faith, declaring that he will rise from the grave to avenge Elisabeta with all the powers of darkness. He then stabs the chapel's stone cross with his sword and drinks the blood that pours out of it.
Don't you think that was a bit much?
All right.
Sorry.
So this whole movie is a bit much.
Yeah.
Which is why I like it.
Oh my God. I don't like it when these movies start with like these crazy flashbacks, and I get it, like that's kind of baking in how his character was made and all that. But, you know, they start off with like him going on a murderous rampage, right? Impaling people and so on and so forth.
Well, he is Vlad the Impaler. That's
yeah.
who he is.
In like this crazy set of armor.
Yes,
that
it's like
looks like
muscles.
muscle.
Yeah.
I know. It's so gross.
His
it was
armor
really-
is fantastic.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It is so gross.
Agreed.
That is my least favorite part of the entire movie. It's so gross. It's like wearing your muscles on the outside.
Well,
Yes.
that's kind of what it is.
Disgusting.
It's awesome. So the very beginning, the red letters, the Dracula sort of print, and the music, automatically awesome.
It was so reminiscent of The Godfather.
It's so crazy.
Totally.
Well, Francis
Yeah.
Ford Coppola.
yeah,
I mean, it had
but
the
like
right-
again, like
Yeah.
come on, you're supposed to be dramatic. Like come up with something else.
It's like,
Yeah.
as they say, like Scorsese read. You're like,
Yes.
check the box
And
on
did-
that one.
Did you notice that Anthony Hopkins does triple duty in this
Yes.
movie?
Mhm.
He's the narrator, first of all.
He's the priest.
He's also the priest in the flashback.
Yeah, I thought so.
And also Van Helsing.
I thought so.
Yes.
Of course.
I like him
Yeah.
as the
Yeah.
priest.
Yeah.
I
he's
was
good.
laughing. I was like, man, if he got such a headliner role as just that corny priest, that would be.
Yeah.
What I did like about this was the theatrical part of the red background and like the puppets doing the fighting. I thought that was nice.
The silhouette?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was, you know, he was definitely going for the theatrical. He proved his points.
So it's interesting that you said puppets, because actually what I was reading was he wanted all those scenes to be totally in puppets. And it didn't work out, actually. But later in the movie, when they're at the cinematograph and you kind of see some of those puppets in the background, that's actually how he wanted that whole scene to be. So it's so funny that you say that, because he was super like, let's go out of the box and yeah, let's make him like a puppeteer, stick figures and all that. And they ultimately wound up, you know, recording it.
Yeah, I mean, the whole movie, I would say, is stylistic. It's not really that realistic as far as any of it. I mean, you have
Right.
the part where the eyes in the train, where he in the background and the sky's all red and his eyes are back there, like the whole thing.
Yes.
But in this first part, I did appreciate the fact that I liked how they did her falling, and then they show her falling while he's reading the letter, and like there's this whole like old school technology thing going on throughout the entire movie.
Okay, you guys know I like me some good double exposure, right?
It's your favorite.
It's like, I do. I really enjoy it. I was kind of annoyed with it here. I felt again like this is 1992, not, 1945.
Well, Coppola insisted he didn't want any use of contemporary special effects.
Well, clearly.
That's what he
It's
did.
like-
Except for one in there. Are you going to read that part? Which
What's
one?
that?
The blue flames
Yeah.
or CGI, which
The blue flames, right?
didn't even know that existed
Which
in
were
92.
potentially the lamest effect in the
It
entire
was,
movie.
why
Well,
were there?
I would say that's the question I would have is I don't understand what they were there for. Not necessarily that they were lame as an effect as in and
Right.
of themselves. I don't know what they represented.
Yeah, it was double lame.
I read that they were in the book, so it harkened back to specific passages within the book, and like they illuminated the whole trail that they took the carriage along supposedly. But in the movie, they didn't make any sense. You're like, oh, it's some kind of special guarded entrance. Oh wait, no,
Right.
it's not. Oh yes, portal. No, yes, no. Oh no, now she's shouting blue flames. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, it was weird.
The other thing I hated about this first part was she's falling from
The other thing I
one of the
hated.
many things of this movie. She's falling from this humongously tall precipice, right? And yet he comes back and her body's just perfectly intact with a few little like trails of blood so that he
Also-
can mourn over her.
She's dry,
Yes.
and her
Well-
hair is perfectly permed.
Well, I mean, I don't think it was supposed to be like the minute they drug her out of the water that he showed back up. I mean, he was
Well, she's
at
not
war.
gonna heal.
and she wouldn't be having trickling like blood out of her. It's fine. It's fine. It was stylistic, but it was ridiculous.
It's stylistic. I was going to say, this
I
is
hated
also
it.
a movie about vampires, and
hated
Jonathan Harker falls like off the exact same thing and survives later on.
Also, I just have to say,
I hated him too.
oh, okay, saving grace, costuming. Costuming was amazing. The costume
Yes.
design.
Apparently, except for the armor.
The armor, yes.
The armor was disgusting, but I mean, it was well designed. Obviously, her dresses and Dracula's outfit throughout the movie were amazing as well. So I'm not surprised one bit that it won various awards for that.
Right, agreed.
I appreciated the way in which he became a vampire. Usually you don't typically see the origin story of Dracula, and the idea that he was kind of turned his back on the Christianity because
Stab the crucifix.
yeah, because he had been a devout Christian, and then he wasn't because of her committing suicide, not being able to be buried. I appreciated that, and I know the blood coming out of the cross was maybe a little much, but then him drinking it, kind of taking in the power of Christ as
Right.
far as and using it for darkness, I guess.
I just thought it was kind of crazy that you have the priest sitting there saying, "Hey, your wife just threw her off, committed suicide because she loved you so much, but now she's damned forever." Like, give him a break. He just came home.
Oh, you must
I
not be
don't-
Catholic.
You must not be Catholic because that's pretty much what it is.
I mean, I am Catholic, but I feel like give him a few minutes. He didn't even put his armor off.
Well,
I'm laughing because I think the first time I saw this, that's exactly how I felt. And the second time I saw it, you're like, damn Catholics. Exactly. No, that's exactly how he'd be like, oh, welcome back for defending the church, brutally slaying thousands of Turks, right?
yep.
But that's all cool. That's all cool in God's name. But by the way, your wife committed suicide and she's damned to hell. So tough luck.
Hey. All right. In 1897, newly qualified solicitor Jonathan Harker takes the Transylvanian Count Dracula as a client from his colleague Renfield, who has gone insane. Jonathan travels to Transylvania to arrange Dracula's real estate acquisitions in London, including Carfax Abbey. Jonathan meets Dracula, who discovers a picture of Harker's fiancée Mina and believes that she is the reincarnation of Elisabetta. Dracula leaves Jonathan to be attacked and fed upon by his brides while he sails to England with boxes of his native Transylvanian soil, taking up residence at Carfax Abbey. His arrival is foretold by the ravings of Renfield, now an inmate in Dr. Jack Seward's insane asylum. Let's get the elephant in the room out of the way. Keanu Reeves.
Oh, God.
So, he is horrible in this movie.
Absolutely horrible.
He's not asked to do much, which is good, aside from stand around and look formal and kind of have some gray hair later on in the movie.
Oh, God.
Some-
Every
but-
time he talked, I thought he was going to be like, dude.
He was bad.
I didn't hate him that much because it's like 1992. He's just playing like that quintessential like good guy character. Like he's got the accent on. I mean, I don't think
Does
I was,
His accent was god awful. He changed his A's from saying regular American A to ah. And that makes him British. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't offend me because I wasn't expecting much from him.
It's true.
I was just like, okay. And I think they were saying like they recruited him because they needed like young blood to attract like young women to come and see the
Yeah,
movie.
him and Winona Ryder.
He's just
Yeah,
like a
he was
token.
apparently
No,
attractive, yeah, known, yeah.
No, Winona was like BFFs with like Francis Ford Coppola. And apparently this was like her dream cast that she put together. So this is like a whole Winona influence on this film. Yeah.
Well,
Soak
she
that in.
She at least could I think, handled it pretty well.
I put her in the same bucket as Keanu. I thought her acting was pretty atrocious. I thought her accent was pretty atrocious.
Didn't think it was as bad
Not
as Keanu.
as bad as Keanu. But she was next tier. Her in the redhead, was it Lucy?
Lucy,
like,
yeah.
kind of were next.
Oh, God, Lucy.
And if Anthony Hopkins and Dracula, Gary Oldman hadn't been in this movie, it would have been been really, really bad.
I mean, Gary Oldman was epic.
He was
awesome.
So was Anthony Hopkins.
I just felt like
He didn't even have to be in there. Yeah, to me, he didn't give anything to it.
You could not have somebody else say those lines and even have them partially deliverable. I mean, Anthony Hopkins took what was schlocky and made it at least, it was over the top, but he sold it because he's Anthony Hopkins.
And apparently, he never showed up to the rehearsals. This was all his dry runs. So I thought that was interesting, but I didn't think he gave.
Not surprised.
I liked the coachman. And I don't know if that was supposed to be Dracula, the coachman that comes and picks him up, because
his neck with his fingers.
Yeah, because who else is kind of supernatural? I don't think there was really any other supernatural people besides his brides in him.
That's true. Yeah.
But I liked how he reached out and the arms way longer than it should have to be, and he kind of grabs him and guides him into the thing.
Yeah, I have that as a good effect for sure. I actually really liked the eyes on the train. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, I liked
double exposure effect. I like.
I rolled my eyes at that point
and
was
like, hell?
How many more minutes do we have left on this movie? And I think we only went into 9.
I know, right? The extending of the driver's arm was really good. I also love, we've got to talk about all the shadowing effects.
Oh, yes. I did like that.
So this was something that I think on the first time I saw it kind of annoyed me, except for the really obvious scenes where they're doing it. But watching it again, knowing that it's somebody emulating them the entire time, it's not their shadow ever.
Right.
And how everything's a little off. Every gesture, every movement was just a little off, wasn't quite right. I kind of loved it.
I did like that. So it's some of the effects I thought were really, really cool. And this was one of my favorites, that the shadows just aren't quite in sync. It kind of leads more to that supernatural feel where you think if you're around a vampire, things just aren't going to work right. Mm-hmm. And I think they did do that really, really well. Yeah. And I think it played back to Nosferatu, which is also supposed to be based off of this same book, but not as closely linked to the book as this particular movie.
Gary Oldman's makeup as the old Dracula, I loved his makeup. And I loved his acting as the old Dracula. I thought all that was very fantastic.
His beehive thing, double beehive, I don't know what the hell was going on with his hair, but I hated it.
Oh, man, really?
Yeah, oh my God, his hairline,
Maybe it just grew on me because I just think it's awesome. But this was another one where I think that when I was a kid and you saw those trailers, I didn't know who Gary Oldman was. And I certainly didn't recognize that guy as him.
Right.
And now watching it as a 37-year-old, and you're watching, I mean, forget about the old, Dracula, Gary Oldman, the young Gary Oldman, who is 34, 35 at the time this is being filmed. I was like, is this weird that he's kind of cute? I was like, I'm officially old.
I couldn't get over the glasses he was wearing as the young one. They were terrible. Sorry.
And the goatee.
Yes.
You didn't think that was hot at all?
No, I would not be yanking on that. No, thanks. So the one thing I absolutely could not stand during the scene. Sorry. was Keanu Reeves is not surprised at all that this crap is going down and nothing is right. He's just okay, yeah, I'm going to this castle.
Let me go.
All right, dudes, let's just do it. And then at one point he does go, wait, something is a little off, but no emotion.
Let me go hang out with some bitches and get my blood drank.
I know. My purple drag.
What was with Dracula's hairy palms? Did you see the part where they specifically show him with this hair coming out of his underneath his sleeve or whatever?
Is he a werewolf too?
Well, he turns into animals, yeah.
So is that it? That he's just I don't know. I was very confused. Aren't werewolves not into vampires?
He's a shapeshifter. He's not a werewolf. He's a shapeshifter, so he can change into rats and wolves, beasts of the whatever he says later on.
How did I not pick up that? Okay, because maybe that's why he's hairy.
That must be why he's hairy, I guess.
Whatever. I'm with Helen. The fact that that he changed into a werewolf, I was like, what the hell?
He didn't change into a werewolf.
Whatever.
He changed into a beast.
I'm with you, girl.
I thought it was a werewolf. Yeah.
Well, You have to go back and read the source material because this is the source material for Dracula. I can't help it all you grow up on twinkly, whatever, Twilight vampires.
I've never seen that movie and never will. But no, I mean, I think that scene was very weird, right? Where all of a sudden he's turning into a werewolf. They show him very clearly. And to your point, maybe he's just turning into a normal wolf. But when a human being turns into a wolf, we call it a werewolf.
Yeah, I mean,
he's not a human being turning into a werewolf. He's a vampire turning into a wolf.
When he's a human-esque
I'm not quoting Twilight, although I have seen the movie. It's very bad. So if you like bad movies, definitely a good movie to watch.
I like the whole part where he's shaving and Dracula like takes the razor blade and like licks the blood off of it.
I mean, that's arguably the best scene in the entire movie.
I agree.
Best scene in the movie, but I liked it. Yeah, it was very like Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, Mina and Lucy in this whole thing. So they have this whole like, she's like, I'm almost 20. I'm practically a hag trying to getting married. That's Lucy. And Mina's looking at Arabian Nights porn, I guess.
Yeah, gotta get me that book. I don't know what's going on in there.
Yeah, I guess.
I assume that it was Lucy's that was left on the countertop there. She's writing letters. She's at her desk in her house.
Yeah, right. But Mina's looking at it.
Yeah, because she's like, what the hell is this? Oh, porn? Sweet.
I guess, yeah.
Lucy, let's check it out together.
Yeah, it's definitely like a lesbian subtext or whatever going on there.
That's just girlfriends.
I guess it is.
Then they possessed him and made them kiss later, which annoyed me.
Well, were they possessed? I can't figure out what they were doing.
Stupid.
They were just like in some sort of,
trance haze,
secret
whatever.
Secret garden thing.
No, they're under the powers of Dracula.
Really?
Whatever. It was stupid and unnecessary.
In London, Dracula emerges as a wolf-like creature amid a fierce thunderstorm and hypnotically seduces, then bites Lucy, with whom Mina is staying while Jonathan is in Transylvania. Lucy's deteriorating health and behavioral changes prompt her former suitors, Quincy Morris and Dr. Seward, along with her fiancé, Arthur Holmwood, to summon Dr. Abraham Van Helsing, who recognizes Lucy as the victim of a vampire. Dracula, appearing young and handsome during daylight, meets and charms Mina. When Mina receives word from Jonathan, who has escaped the castle and recovered at a convent, she travels to Romania to marry him. In his fury, Dracula transforms Lucy into a vampire. Van Helsing, Holmwood, Seward, and Morris kill the now undead Lucy the following night.
The one thing I liked about this scene with the fierce thunderstorm is Lucy, I guess, is kind of waking up in her sleep or something, or sleepwalking, and she's wearing red. And I thought that was visually stunning as she was running through the hedge maze. I don't know what they call it.
Yeah, hedge maze.
Yeah. So I did enjoy that. It's a hedge maze.
I thought it was cool that her dress mirrored Dracula's armor that we were talking so much about. So again, they're using these reds and calling her, and again with the striping, like very, very similar. Again, we went into depth about how Dracula transforms into a non-werewolf, which was still weird.
Was there some like Wolfman sex going on there or not? I couldn't tell what was going on. I mean,
kidding me?
He was obviously like kind of biting her neck or whatever, but he was in between her legs, and I couldn't figure out if
it was erotic. I guess.
Hey, I didn't know
supposed to be erotic.
Yeah, I didn't know if he was just playing it up for Lucy. I mean, for Mina, or if like he was really.
Well, who's to say if there was penetration or not?
I don't know.
Yeah. Not really sure how it works when you're not a werewolf.
This movie starts to turn to like pseudo erotica, pretty quickly.
Yes.
I think, again, like I said, this was almost like a good sort of cheesy stay indoors date night movie. So this is like as you start watching along and sort of like the sexual tension between Dracula and Winona Ryder and like, all the touching and that type of stuff and heavy petting. And then like you've got some like, animal on human sex going on. I don't know. You got all this crazy stuff going on throughout it.
I think, Lucy kind of like exposes her nipples like randomly through the movie at inopportune times. Like the guys are all there and they're like, should we tell her? Should we not tell her? I don't know. Should we cover her up? I guess so, maybe.
Well, I felt like two of them were doctors too. So they're kind of just like, very like, all right, like fix her out.
Yeah, I mean.
So that's fine. They see boobs. They're doctors.
I guess, yeah. There was a lot of boobs in this movie.
A lot of Lucy's boobs.
Lucy's boobs. I mean, that's pretty much it, right?
I guess the three.
The vampires
the vampire girls.
Yeah, they were
the brides.
Top, the brides. Yeah, which by the way, I mean.
When the one came up through the guy's legs, I was like, that's a good scene. That was a good shot.
Yeah.
I don't like the one coming up and out of the bed, though. That always annoys me. It's like, what's it, escalator? Like she's coming up the escalator. Here she goes.
Like pretending to go down the stairs.
Yeah, I didn't like. Yes.
I don't know.
Yes, but you're just disappearing and reappearing up and off the bed.
Yeah.
I don't care for that effect. I thought that was lame, but definitely good. I think sexual scenes and sexual tension and like the blood and the biting and the effects and all that. I think is well done.
Yeah, and then Dracula brings in a baby, which ruins the whole thing.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I didn't remember that. And then all of a sudden he's got this baby that I guess they feast on. I was like, oh, that's really effed up. I
Yeah.
totally forgot about that.
I didn't like that part.
Yeah.
No.
That
Along
was,
with so many others, I didn't like that
It
part.
goes-
that wasn't cool,
Goes
Dracula.
south. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was
No,
nuts.
that was the other vampires. Goes south.
So, like, I guess
Sorry.
the whole point of the movie, I guess, is that he figures out that there's a doppelganger or something, right? But he doesn't know until Harker comes to do the real estate transactions.
What,
Right?
what doppelganger?
Mina and Elizabeta.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
The
she's
the
a reincarnation.
reincarnation.
Gotcha.
Right. So, why is he buying up property in London then?
So in the book, that whole thing with Mina and him doesn't exist.
Okay.
So in the source material, there is no like reincarnated love thing. He just wants to move and buys up all this land
Okay.
in London, and he ships 50 boxes of his earth to all these different places. And he's going there for new hunting grounds and whatever. And he goes there, and Jonathan Harker, kind of the same thing happens to him, right? And he escapes and marries Mina or whatever. But then when they all get back to London, they hunt Dracula down like through these 50 different places apparently. And they all have different specific skills that lend themselves to the team, and it's kind of an A-team thing.
Gotcha.
Like an RPG.
Like an RPG, yeah. And then it ends kind of the same way too, minus the whole Mina part.
Right. Yeah, I did
So-
read that. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks for clearing that up, because I was
I-
like, I don't know how he randomly chose that.
Yeah, I think it was just holdover from the original, right? It doesn't make much sense when you're talking about the reincarnation. I agree.
The one sort of mechanism that I thought was interesting was that they are telling this story through different, basically, chronologues. So you have Mina's diary that they're referencing, right? You've got John's notes that you're referencing, Van Helsing's testimony at some point. When I was kind of thinking about this, watching this again, I liked them, but I thought that they would probably be really great in the book. They seem like book mechanisms that were tried and true. You would do like a chapter for each one. They made total sense. But I thought they were a little clunky in the movie. Like all of a sudden it was like, Mina's diary, September 12th. And you're just kind of like, okay, but we just did like a half an hour without anybody's diary entry. So, all right, cool, go for it, Mina.
Yeah, I guess it's a holdover from the original, right? And
Totally. So, like I said, I mean, good in the book and in the movie. Meh.
So one thing I didn't like about Mina's character is how quickly she seems to toss Jonathan sort of, well, I got this nice cute prince. She calls him my prince. It's almost like she isn't as interested in Dracula as a person as she is in his
Gold digger.
in his station. Yeah, or just the fact that he's like this larger than life figure to her versus Jonathan. I mean, Jonathan's basically being ravaged and his blood's being sort of sucked nightly, I guess, to feed these vampire brides, and he's trying to escape to get back to his love, and she's chatting it up and watching porn in some 1800s theater.
I felt like she was really just more, again, she comes to the realization, oh, I know you. It's a reincarnation.
Yeah.
She falls under his trance as well. So I felt like it's a little bit of both. It all does happen very quickly, though. And then she reverts to actually going back and marrying her fiancé, which you're kind of like, oh, wow, okay. So she goes back and like writes that course. But then even after she gets married to him, then she again falls under the Count's spell and goes back to him.
Yeah, I mean, I assume she's reclaiming her reincarnated self to some degree, right? Whatever connectivity she has with Elizabeta in that past life. But
I don't like the waffling. Like, if you're going to do it, do it.
I
Don't, like,
guess.
leave and go marry the poor guy that's been getting his blood sucked out of him for 3 months. And, right? And now you're back and you're like, no, just kidding, Jonathan. I'm
Whoop, yep.
going to go with this guy.
Yep, I don't like gray hair. I'm moving on with the guy that does perpetually not gray.
Yeah. Oh, God. Don't even get me started about the hair and the inconsistency with the hair.
Well, but I will say this. Look, since it's not a realistic way he got the gray hair. I'm okay with the gray hair not looking realistic to some extent either. It's sort of like he got it through some sort of really traumatic supernatural experience. So I can
Why did
deal
he
with it.
start with streaks and then like within days he was like a full white and then like
goes
that
back to-
it was a brown again?
I was
I
like,
don't
what is
understand.
happening?
Well, he got over it. He got over it.
He got some just for men washed right in between the scenes.
I guess it's one of these boot polish back in the day, I think.
I guess it was weird.
All right, can we just talk very quickly about her three suitors, because I think they're interesting characters. You got Quincy, right? Who's the American Texan, I think.
Yeehaw!
Yep. You've got what's the Lord? What's his name? I don't have his name down here.
Arthur Holmwood.
Arthur. Yeah. So you have Arthur Holmwood, the Lord, who ends up being her fiance, Lucy's fiance, and then you have Dr. Jack Seward, who, as far as I can tell, is only, I guess, in the movie randomly. He's in the insane asylum. He's a doctor. Renfield's there, and then he just knows these people, I guess, right? There's no other connection.
Yeah. Dr. Jack was a weird character to me. At first, I didn't quite make the connection that he was the guy from the insane asylum. And like, then you're like, why are we focusing so much on this insane asylum with Renfield? And then you see him shooting up and whatnot.
Right.
And you see him looking like crap throughout the whole movie, right? Like pasty wet, like pasty, white and sweaty. And you're just kind of like, what's the deal? Like, what's happening with this guy? And why would she find him attractive? Just seemed, I don't know. Seem weird.
Yeah, no. And actually, Renfield's whole point is pointless, I want to say. Like, he doesn't do anything in the movie, aside from just kind of rave like a lunatic.
Right.
Then
I did
tells
feel like
Mina to leave, right?
I did feel like when he was murdered, when the green mist comes in and he's murdered, it was like, whoa, I just took this to a whole new level. I know you just impaled 2,000 people like an hour ago, but there was no like clear on-screen violence of somebody's face being slammed into a jail cell. That was intense.
Yeah, but what was Dracula going to do? Like, Dracula made him nuts and told him...
I don't know. And why did he disobey him or whatever?
Well, yeah, we told Mina to run, right? He basically was saying, go away. He found her to be sort of his rival, right? I mean, he thought that he was going to get the eternal life, that Dracula had promised him eternal life, and then he was like, wait a minute, it looks like Mina's going to get the eternal life. And so she was like a rival to him.
So not knowing the rules of vampires like you do, Ray, you can only give one person your eternal life gift.
No, you can give as many as you want,
All
I
right,
think.
well, then why is there competition?
I don't know. Like I said, I didn't understand Renfield's point in the movie or place in the movie, why he turned on him, what his whole point was in the first place.
I didn't even interpret it that way. I thought he was telling her to get away from those men, as in the men that were trying to hunt Dracula,
Oh.
so she could free herself, so Dracula could get to her.
Yeah, I thought that he was telling her to run from Dracula. But I just thought maybe he was just there to say, hey, I was the original real estate guy. Look what happened to me. You idiot. Now you went to Transylvania. Good luck.
That's pretty much it. You're right.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know.
didn't read too much into it,
it would
but
be
then
in-
again, I didn't
Yes.
see much into this movie at all.
It would be interesting to see what his point was in the book, if he had a bigger part or some part that made some additional sense.
I did read that Steve Buscemi was originally considered for that role. And he
That
turned
would have
it
been
down.
hilarious.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie to you.
He would have been good.
Yeah.
Although I thought that whoever the actor was that played him, I thought he did a good job. He looked
Yeah,
crazy.
he did. He did look nuts.
I warmed up to him.
And I liked the box man. Did you see the box man? Because it was 13 ghosts.
Oh, it was
left.
13 Ghosts, but they were the ones working
I
for
drew,
the.
I drew a
Saison.
picture of the box because I was so like, what is happening? At first, I thought it was an inmate roaming, and then you've come to find out that it's the guards. I didn't understand. Okay, so they're
So
wearing
nobody
these
can
crazy
bite
boxes
them.
to protect their faces.
Yeah, it's like a beekeeper's
So creepy.
thing. It's just a crazy person thing.
I didn't really. I thought that the asylum was just too much. I just don't know if that was historically based, and that's where they came up with it.
Like the eyes in the sky, historically based.
No, but that's Dracula haunting them. That's fine. This is clearly not a legit insane asylum, but it's meant to be an asylum.
Yeah, I have to be honest with you. In 1897, the asylums probably did look pretty crappy. Not gonna lie.
Well, this is turn of the century Jack the Ripper era.
Yep.
So I was kind of like, okay, well, maybe
10 years after Jack the Ripper. So
yeah, maybe. So, but no, I just thought that asylum was super weird.
Yeah.
Too much.
Like, why take her there? Like, how's that safe?
Oh, the whole just stay in my quarters. They're not much, but just in the middle of the insane asylum. You'll be fine.
with these people walking around.
Thanks, cool.
Okay, we're a little ahead of ourselves, just
Sorry.
slightly. No, let's
So many questions.
let's bring it back around real quick to Lucy. Lucy becomes a vampire. So let's just talk about that because that happens before we get to the whole Dracula versus everybody
Oh
scenes.
God, that outfit.
Which one?
Let's talk about the
Wedding dress?
wedding dress with the thing around the neck. Oh God, it was ugly. That was ugly. I'm sorry, costume people. It was hideous.
Well, it's fantastically detailed.
It was-
I thought it was
yes.
ugly too, but it was fantastically detailed.
I thought the same. I just thought very like Queen of England. Like
Beyond.
It's a period
Yeah.
piece. So I was
Yeah.
kind of like, okay.
And
yeah,
what-
I mean, I thought it was ugly too, but
And like the
lace
crystal
detail was amazing.
sarcophagus she was in. I mean,
Yes.
fantastic. Spared no expense for that. I guess all the wedding money just went right into the funeral. They
Yeah,
just-
yeah, exactly.
Okay, I
The
guess.
Snow White coffin.
Yeah, the Snow White coffin. Yeah, no, it was good.
Just spare no expense. Rolled that right into the coffin.
right into the coffin. I'm telling
What's
you.
the stuff that they can put in the coffins to preserve the bodies?
Embalming fluid?
In the coffins.
No. You know, they can replace the oxygen. I don't know if it's like CO2 or whatever it is, but it helps preserve the bodies.
Yeah, I don't think in 1897 they were rocking
Well,
that.
she didn't need it because she was a vampire.
That's
anyways.
true. She didn't need anything. She was good to go. I love Van Helsing's part in this section of the movie because he has some great lines, like crazy lines. What did he say? He says, "Yeah, she was in great pain. Then we cut off her head, drove a stake through her heart, and she was at peace." Like he just
Burnt it, and then she was at peace.
It's just the way he says stuff. It's just hilarious.
I loved to Helen's point, like clearly he A, didn't give a shit, and B didn't rehearse. Like he just showed up and he's like, whatever.
Yeah, no, his accent, I couldn't tell if it was British, German, or some
Romanian or
some
what?
weird combination, something like that. But it was awesome. I mean, Van Helsing's supposed to be a worldly man, right? So why not?
He seemed drunk half the time.
Well, that's okay. He was crazy.
I thought he would be okay, and I'm basing this off of other movies I have seen, and I apologize.
Wait, is it the one with Hugh Jackman that plays Van Helsing?
Possibly.
Because if so, I don't know if I can go with that either.
Or
I thought he'd be more badass, and he's not.
or Hotel Transylvania.
Or
3.
Hotel Transylvania 3. Yes. Let's figure out where your source material is coming from.
I'm not. It might be the first one.
Okay.
I appreciate that he wasn't so badass, that he was just more like a doctor, and then he was sort of on this mission to hunt down Dracula. But yeah, I totally agree. Sort of on the spectrum to your point, Helen, like definitely should have been shifted a little bit towards more of this, I'm on a mission to hunt Dracula and kill him, versus, hey, let's just hang out and grab a few pints. Did he improv on that, but not on an empty stomach? Just feed me, stick me in the carriage? Because now I'm thinking he was drunk and made that shit up.
It was awesome.
Quite possible.
It was awesome.
But not on an empty stomach. Feed me.
You bringing up the point about him saying, Dracula, my whole point
Arch
to
nemesis
made no sense. It would have made more sense if he was just like, oh, it's a vampire thing and we're going to hunt the vampire. I don't know who Dracula is. I'm a doctor and I'm doing my thing. Why would he know who specifically Dracula was? It's weird.
Right, because he clearly was in this castle for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean,
and
you
now
could have
he's
just
looking
you could have
to-
just gone to his castle
Yeah,
and killed him if you really
exactly.
wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah, he felt very aimless almost. Like, he's around and he's in town, so let's
Well,
go
he got
after
called.
him.
They called him
Right.
in to help, and he's like, "Okay, it's a vampire, and there it is, concubine of Satan, and all that whatnot, and chop off her head, and we're all good." After Jonathan and Mina return to London, Jonathan and Van Helsing lead the others to Carfax Abbey, where they destroy the Count's boxes of soil. Dracula enters the asylum, where he kills Renfield for warning Mina of his presence. He visits Mina, who is staying in Seward's quarters while the others hunt Dracula, and confesses that he murdered Lucy and has been terrorizing Mina's friends. Confused and angry, Mina admits she still loves him and remembers her previous life as Elisabetta. At her insistence, Dracula begins transforming her into a vampire. The hunters burst in the bedroom, and Dracula claims Mina as his bride before escaping. As Mina changes, Van Helsing hypnotizes her and learns, via her connection with Dracula, that he is sailing home in his last remaining box. The hunters depart for Varna to intercept him, but Dracula reads Mina's mind and evades them. The hunters split up. Van Helsing and Mina travel to Borgo Pass and the castle, while the others try to stop the gypsies transporting the Count. I did appreciate when Dracula comes to get Mina after he kills Renfield, and he sort of, green mists himself up through the covers, that he doesn't really want to change her into a vampire, right? He has a moment of like, I love you too much to do this to you, and I, don't want to take your life. And she's like, no, let's go all the way. Let's
do this thing.
Let's do this thing.
I agree too. Like that was the first time that you're actually seeing him have some kind of soul, and you like it. But then I'm kind of like, well, would he really? Like he's been dead 400 years now. He's been waiting for her. She's finally reincarnated, and he's been whoa, you're moving too fast, girlfriend.
Yeah, well, I think it was just about taking her life, right? I think it's more about that and having her kind of be in the darkness with him.
No, I did appreciate it. I mean, it was definitely the chivalrous thing to do, but...
I didn't like how she was saying, take me away from all this death. I'm like, it was one person who died.
Yeah, and also he has to kill you for you to be able to...
She meant her husband's personality.
Oh.
Boom.
Which, interestingly, that whole scene where they do get married, did you read that they actually did get married?
I saw that. I was laughing so hard. Oh, man. They totally, didn't even realize that they actually got married. So they actually had to get divorced from one another?
I didn't read that they actually got divorced, but I don't know if they left it as, we don't know if we actually got married because it's not our language, so we'll just carry on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, wow.
Oops. Yeah, I thought that the whole green mist scene was interesting. Again, I just think that one of the things that this movie does really well is it plays with that sexual tension really well.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out what he was doing as that green mist.
I didn't like that it leaves you wondering a little bit too much to technically what's happening versus the idea of just teasing or just it being sort of blanket sexual type of thing. But, actually once it comes up to Winona and she's kind of doing her moaning and whatnot, it's fine. You're kind of moving on past that. So, but I like that it was, implying his presence and then she looks up and then he's there.
Yeah. That's cool.
That was good.
Yep. At night, Van Helsing and Mina are approached by Dracula's brides. Initially, they frighten Mina, but she eventually succumbs to their chanting and attempts to seduce Van Helsing. Before Mina can feed on his blood, Van Helsing places a communion wafer on her forehead, leaving a mark. He surrounds them with a ring of fire to protect them from the brides, then infiltrates the castle and decapitates them the following morning. As sunset approaches, Dracula's carriage arrives at the castle, pursued by the hunters. A fight between the hunters and gypsies ensues. Morris is stabbed in the back during the fight, and at sunset, Dracula bursts from his coffin. Harker slits his throat while the wounded Morris stabs him in the heart with a bowie knife. As Dracula staggers, Mina rushes to his defense. Holmwood tries to attack, but Van Helsing and Harker allow her to retreat with the Count. Morris dies of his wounds, surrounded by his friends. In the chapel where he renounced his faith, Dracula lies dying in an ancient demonic form. They share a kiss as the candles adorning the chapel light up and the cross repairs itself. Dracula turns back to his younger self and asks Mina to give him peace. Mina thrusts the knife through his heart. As he finally dies, the mark on her forehead disappears as Dracula's curse is lifted. She decapitates him and gazes up at the fresco of Vlad and Elisabetta, ascending to heaven together, reunited at long last.
Okay, so let's go back to the scene, on the mountaintop with Van Helsing and Mina. First of all, that's the biggest communion wafer I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, man. That's how they did it back in the 1890s.
Apparently, you need some serious cleansing. I thought that sucker was some kind of clay tablet. I don't know what that was.
Maybe it's the one the priest uses because that one's pretty ginormous.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Before he breaks it all up.
Before he breaks it all up
to feed 50 people. Yeah, entirely possible. I like the brides showing up there, sort of like the sirens. At first, I wasn't sure if they were actually there or if they were just, again, sort of like hallucinations. Until they're like, oh yeah, you're going to save that bitch? Well, then I'm going to kill your horses.
Oh yeah, the horse. Why do you have to go after the horse?
Oh yeah, kill those horses.
Hey, that's when Van Helsing was like, these bitches going to die.
I love that. Then he's like, you're going to kill those horses? I'm going to chop your heads off.
That's right.
It was so tit for tat. It just cracked me up.
I also like how Van Helsing was this close to being like, maybe I'll sleep with Mina. Maybe that's okay. No, it's not okay.
He totally was, man. He was under her seduction.
I think at this point I was just really happy the movie was about to end. I don't remember any of it.
I have to be honest, I couldn't believe it was still going. like I was telling Ray, I was like, I think I only have a little bit more to watch of this. And he's like, you have 40 minutes left. I was like, oh my God. I said, what else could possibly happen in this movie that could fill another 40 minutes?
So I will say, I liked the chase scene. I thought the sun setting, that whole thing, I thought it had pretty good tension. Like you're like, oh my gosh, Dracula, when the sun goes down, Dracula's going to come out of here and he's going to, kill everybody because he's so powerful. And they're trying to get to him before that. And yeah, I mean, you had kind of the Indiana Jones sort of like shooting the guys off the back of the carriage and all that nonsense. And then they finally get there. And as the sun goes down, he comes up out of the box. And finally, Jonathan Harker, who's pretty much done nothing throughout the rest of this movie, gets the one shot he needs to get and slits his throat. Which, of course, if you go back to vampire lore, like neither the throat slitting nor the knife in the heart should have done anything to him because it wasn't a wooden stake, I guess. But maybe we don't care about that here. Maybe it's...
You might have needed a silver bullet too.
Or anything. Yeah, I don't know.
I think that's werewolves.
Yeah, but we
Well,
don't know
that's what
what
she's
he
saying.
is.
Yeah, we don't know what he is.
Would have
Yeah.
done double
Yeah.
duty. Yeah, I agree. Sort of like all the technical details at the end started to fall apart for me. I feel like the first time I watched this, I liked more sort of like the race against the sunset. And this one, I was like, but he's been hanging out. He already said like daylight doesn't bother him. He's just...
Well, but he doesn't have his full power.
yeah, but
That's
so
I'm saying.
what? Like he could bust out of that like if he needs to.
Plus he's got old dirt. If he had 50 boxes, he only has one left. He's been using it all.
That's what I'm saying, but he's still in his home dirt, so he should be regenerating. He's been on like a cruise for the last week regenerating. I was just kind of like, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling like the whole got a race to get inside the castle so he can bust out of there and kick some booty. I was like, because then if he did get in there, then, they might not go in there, and he's already been powerful enough off the grounds separately. So if that carriage didn't even get in there and the sun went down anyways, he'd still have the cover of night. He'd still be in his original dirt, which he's in. I don't know, just kind of, again, the mechanics bother me.
I got the impression that he wasn't actually that powerful because for some reason he needed to be back in his house. Like he needed to be back in the castle because he was... Otherwise, why would he flee at all? Why would he be fleeing back anywhere? Why wouldn't he just got back there? He wouldn't wait till night and then kill them all. Yeah, so I thought he was kind of underpowered to begin with, but either way.
Maybe turning into 50 rats took all of his power away.
Yeah, it could be. Or maybe he only got like 40 of them back.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the problem.
That is a problem.
That is a problem.
His mouse traps, darn it.
Yeah, then we had like this stupid blue flames again, which I also like. Van Helsing's been pretty reasonable up until now, but then again he like sort of gets seduced by Mina. But then when they're back at the castle, Mina decides to like jump up there, which now she's like a vampiress, like half step away of being a full-fledged vampire, right? Or maybe she is at this point.
I think she at least has the little nubs.
Oh, yeah. She's getting there. She's like mostly, if not all the way there. And Van Helsing's like, it's cool, Mina. You do you. And she just like hops up there, like calls storm
the wind or
winds
whatever. Yeah.
And like brings all that down. I'm like, really, Van Helsing? You're just gonna let this happen? Like, again, it was just sort of like, we got the stagecoach. We're going to make that happen. Then she's going to, call the storm, and then it's going to add some additional snow, and it's going to be hard to see, and then we're going to get some blue flames, and then the gate comes down, and we're not sure what side they're on or where they're going, or where, like the whole thing. I was like, I don't even know. Then they finally slit his throat. I was like, oh, good, something's happening.
Yeah, the blue flames, I don't understand, but yeah, I don't really understand what they were. Some sort of like a warning mechanism or something. I don't really know.
Yeah, we've got him on the ropes. We've slit his throat and we've stabbed him in the heart. But no, let him go. Let him go. It's cool.
So if things had worked out in Dracula's favor and he had won, what do you think happens to the other three ladies?
The brides?
Yeah. Do you think they go...
That are already heads cut off?
Well, like, suppose they didn't get their heads cut off.
Oh,
Who
I
wins
know,
out?
right?
Yeah.
Well, she does, obviously.
I mean, she would have to, but where do they go? Do they get another...
I don't know.
They can
1, 4.
They can stay in their pit.
I feel like Mina might have something to say about that.
I figure they'd still stay in their pit. They just throw him a baby occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So one thing I did not understand about the end, which is, I guess, stylistically, right? Jonathan's like, let her go so she can go be with Dracula. He says something like she has the heart. What does he say? She has I don't even remember.
Her future is just beginning.
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Says something like that. And then immediately...
Her work's just
beginning.
beginning.
Her work's just beginning, right? And then she immediately goes in there. Dracula dies. She kills him. And she becomes mortal again. Mm-hmm. And they're like, did they leave yet? Because she's going to freeze to death in about 4 hours, right? She's in the middle of this castle that's not heated right now.
Right.
So I don't really understand what what's she going to do after the movie?
I don't know what the hell. Like, they drag out the whole movie, and then they finally get to this last scene, and her love heals him, or whatever, some bullshit that they're spewing out there. Exactly, he dies. The cross heals itself. Okay. And then also, out of basically nowhere, she takes that sword and, like, decapitates him. It's like, oh, just for good measure.
Well, I guess that's the only way to really kill him, right?
No, but that was ridiculous. Like, I don't think she had been, like, coached on that. She didn't know it was coming. And, like, she had just driven the sword through the heart of her, like, everlasting love. And she's like, no, it's cool. I got this, guys. Let me decapitate him.
Well, I mean, she was in the room when they were talking. Van Helsing was talking to them about going after Dracula. So, I mean, I could have imagined she picked up the whole gotta chop his head off thing. I can get there. We didn't see it, but I can get
cross
there.
healed. It's over with. Do you really need to cut his head off?
Maybe
Yeah, I know.
She watched
Yeah,
all those horror movies and knew he was going to pop back up.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was confused about whether he was actually a vampire anymore at that point, or if he was just a dude, right? Like, yeah.
The cross healed. Like, again, it was like a, mysterious act of Christ type of thing. All's well. He turned back into 34-year-old handsome Gary Oldman. He's fine. All right, no, let's cut his head off for good measure.
Just to be sure.
And the end.
It
was very,
she's stuck in the castle.
After all that, it was weird.
Well, the whole movie was weird, but yeah,
that's the one weird thing.
Yeah, that last scene, like, I feel like if they just killed him and it would have been the end, I think that would have been better, more in line with the book. But I guess they had to pay off the whole love throughout the ages thing that they were going on with Mina and Dracula. Okay, now that we've reviewed the movie, it's time to rate it. Only the best movies make it to the top of the hill, and to be the best, they have to perform in 3 categories. First, technical composition, which represents how well the movie's made, including script, directing, cinematography, acting, and effects. Impact, which represents how well the movie accomplished its emotional intent. Was it scary or funny? Did it make you question mankind or the nature of your reality? And enjoyment, which is pretty simple. How much did you enjoy the movie? Would you watch it again? Do you never want to watch it again? All right, so let's talk about technical composition. Helen.
So I hated Keanu Reeves and his acting. I'm sorry. But I did like certain elements of the movie. Like how the movie kind of resembled, like how we said, an erotic dream, that there were different types of elements where they try to make it theatrical with the eyes and the train windows, how things were moving over the diary pages.
Yeah.
Just that the laws of nature were kind of distorted with the shadow elements. But overall, I just gave it a 2.
Okay.
Oh, man. Okay, so for technical, I'm definitely right there with Helen. I mean, there were definitely some good things and some bad things about this. Like we said, you guys know I love a good double exposure, so I like the throwback elements. I like all the practical effects. I like that they shot some scenes in reverse just to kind of add to that creepiness factor. There were a lot of good things that they were able to pack into this movie, effect-wise. Like I said, the costuming was amazing. Gary Oldman was amazing. And that being said, there were a lot of things that were not so great. Like I hated, like the rats running upside down. Like some of those practical effects that were just stupid and cheesy. The lightning behind the carriage drivers, I just thought was cheap. That to me was like, well, you couldn't have waited for a lightning storm? No lightning storm. We had to like force like some kind of lightning light bulb behind these guys. So just overall, I thought like, the good and the bad kind of balance out. I gave it a square 5.
Okay. Well, Keanu Reeves, bad. Winona Ryder, okay. Acceptable, right? I don't even know who the actress is that played Lucy. The whole love story thing, it was good up to a point. In the 3rd act, it kind of fell over, in my opinion. Other than that, I really like this movie. I like period pieces. I like things that have atmosphere and are kind of strange or weird. And I think that, Francis Ford Coppola kind of brought his whole deal to this. The costuming was great. The creature effects were great. I mean, I think he looked good as an old Dracula. I think he looked good as the werewolf Dracula. I think he looked good as the man-bat Dracula. I think all his incarnations really looked good. He also looked good as the 50 rats, but whatever. So I am giving this an 8.
Holy moly.
Yes.
Boom.
All right. Next, let's talk about impact. Anne.
Okay, so impact, I mean, we watch a lot of scary movies, obviously. So, if we're talking about impact for, like, the scary level, or like you say, Ray, like, does it, make you question your reality?
Now, no, its impact is if it fulfilled its what it was supposed to, its emotional intent was.
Well, I don't know what the hell Francis Ford Coppola's intent was with this. I mean, he's all over the place. I feel like at the end of the day, yeah, it's supposed to be mysterious and scary and probably like I don't know. I mean, I took erotic from it. I don't know if that's what he's going for, but let's assume yes. But, overall, again, I didn't think it was like super scary. I didn't think it was super over the top. I gave it a 3.
Okay, Helen?
I agree with Anne. I don't know what the impact was. It was just bizarre. So I gave it a 1. No
Okay.
scares at all. I did not find it scary.
No, I did not find it scary. I didn't think it was a scary movie, but I didn't think it was supposed to be a scary movie. It's essentially a love story, right? Kind of draped around, Bram Stoker's Dracula book. I thought it was mostly erotic / sensual, if you want to kind of back it off the sex part.
Nope, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And so I thought it fulfilled that mission pretty well. I mean, of the movies that we've reviewed, this had the most sort of eroticism to it. So I gave it a 6.
Okay.
All right. And finally, enjoyment. Let's just start with Helen. Helen, you want to get this out of the way?
I didn't enjoy it, so I gave it a 1.
Okay.
Oh, man. Okay, so despite the other scores, I did enjoy this. So I felt like this was a good, like, grab your boyfriend, grab your husband, grab a glass of wine, because you are gonna need it. Light that fire, curl up, and just kind of enjoy it. Like, I like that it was a slow burn. I thought that was great. It was a throwback. Maybe a little too long, a little too much of a slow burn. But overall, I gave it a 7.
I think you need a bottle or 2 of wine.
A bottle's fair.
Yeah.
And a straw.
Yeah, I feel like this movie is the type of movie you can get laid to if you're
19.
Wait,
No, I was gonna say older than that. I feel like younger people, I think, wouldn't appreciate necessarily. They couldn't stay with it.
I think
long
if you
enough.
were
It's
like
a long movie.
19 in 1999.
You think you're gonna watch that movie and then be like, "Let's head out to the bedroom"?
Oh no! No. The movie
Not in Helen's world.
is a slow enough burn that you don't really need to pay attention to it all the way. I'm saying
you don't.
you're having sex during the movie.
Yes,
is what I'm
okay.
saying.
That's what
like,
okay. That
about
makes
the
more
time
sense.
the third Lucy's nipple comes out the third time, you're like, all right, let's move this thing on. So anyway, I gave it a 9.
Whoa!
Wow.
Whoa!
All right.
Woo!
I really enjoyed this movie. Aside from,
I know you do.
Aside
I'm
from the
sorry.
eroticism,
Apparently.
I can't explain why I enjoy it necessarily.
But it's not the eroticism. Wink, wink.
Well, no, I just like a good period piece, and I think this is.
He talks about boobs a lot, so I think it was the nips.
Well, I'm it might have been a point or two. I'm not saying it's not.
Pointer too.
I'm just saying that I like the movie.
At least they were natural boobs.
Yes,
That's true.
yeah.
That's
I
true.
should
There
up
were
my
some
score
nice
for that.
boobs. There were some nice boobs.
All right.
Yeah, technical details go up for that one.
Yeah, technical composition. All right, Anne. Well, why don't you calculate our individual scores and then the overall score for Bram Stoker's Dracula?
Okay, great. So let's go from the bottom up on this one. We had quite the range of scores on this one, as listeners could probably tell. Helen, your wonderful scores combined round you out at a whopping 1.33,
Ooh.
which might be the lowest we've ever rated any movie on this podcast.
It might be. I'll go back to the books and look it up.
I think it might be. I'm right in the middle. The weird thing is my scores actually average out to a round 5. So
Seriously in the middle.
guess I was feeling very average about this. And Ray, your love fest continues, and your whopping scores rounded out to a 7.67.
Excellent. I think that's the highest I might have rated a movie.
I was going to say that might be one of the highest that any of us have rated any movie.
Maybe.
I'm pretty sure. And with our powers combined, we rated Bram Stoker's Dracula a 4.67.
Okay, well, that obviously is not at the top of the hill. It's sitting just below The Ring, which is the first movie we reviewed. All right, well, if you enjoyed this podcast, help us grow our audience, rate and review us on iTunes, and please share with your friends and family on Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms. Give us a shout out to tell us how we're doing or suggest movies to review. You can find us on Twitter. Our handle is @HilltopHorror. I want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Hilltop Horror Movie Reviews. I'm your host, Ray Richards, and on behalf of my co-hosts, thank you for listening, and I hope you'll join us next time.